very brief remarks. I went to Princeton as an undergraduate and as a graduate, and I studied theory with Milton. Studying theory with Milton was a very interesting episode. You could not have taken a class with Milton without knowing what scales, what progressions were, what triads were, what a cadence was. You had to know these things because Milton talked on a much higher and more sophisticated plane and made theory 101, absolutely fascinating. I was just deciding to become a composer at the time, having actually been in theater before that, and I was deciding to become a composer at Princeton, which I did. I went to summer camp wanting to study with Paul Hindemith, who I thought was just the bee's knees in terms of music. And I wanted to study with him, but I was too young. He was teaching up at Tanglewood, so I studied with a man named Luther Noss, who was an acolyte of his up at the Yale Summer School for Music. And Luther Noss said, "Here, if you come to the right person to study with, not him, but Hindemith and so forth." And I steeped myself in Hindemith. I loved Mathis de Mahler. Wonderful piece. I played Ludus Tonalis, which when I got back to Princeton was called Ludus Tonalis. And when I got back to Princeton, I had several pieces somewhat in the style, not completely in the style of Hindemith, and I took it to Milton, and he said, "Malcolm, that's fine, but you'll never want to compose like Hindemith." My jaw dropped, and I was shocked by the fact that he said something like that, but he was right. Any case, Milton at the time was in his messianic stage talking about 12 tone. And I went to his lectures. I would say of 10 of us who were there were only 3 who understood what he was talking about. But he was fascinating to listen to. He was absolutely mesmerizing to listen to. I think most of you who have heard him speak know that he was a mesmerizing speaker. But I didn't understand what he was talking about. I eventually decided, or maybe my therapist did, that I shouldn't go to these lectures. I went up to Tanglewood and studied with a fine composer named Irving Fine. And Milton was up there that summer. And I remember ladies in Bermuda shorts coming to his lectures and absolutely being entranced. Of course, they didn't understand what he was saying. And they would, when he went out, they would go like a comet after him. Milton was a very, very, shall I say, approachable person despite his erudition and so forth. And we would go out for a drink and we'd talk about our sex and the women that we liked. And I remember him saying, I like the secretary type. Well, of course, Sylvia was a secretary. But, we were relaxed in talking about almost anything. I began my page-turning career when Bob Helps was playing Partitions. I was running a series in New York, and I asked Milton for a work on the series, and he said, "Yes, I have a work. It's for piano." And I said, "Oh, great. How long is it?" "It's a minute and 40 seconds." So Bob Helps was a friend of mine. Bob Helps, being a wonderful pianist, was playing this work, and I went to his apartment, and turn pages for him while he was playing this piece. Well, the piece was loose leaf stuff. And as I was turning pages, they all fell off the piano and so forth. I mean, you know, I don't know how he possibly managed this piece, but it is a marvelous piece. Absolutely stunning piece, and in my view, I think it distills everything that Milton Babbitt is as a musician. For one thing, it's very fast, very short, but everything is like electricity. And the ending is beautiful. I must say, I've stolen various parts from Milton's music. That, I remember the ending, I stole it and put it in a piece of mine. I also, Vision and Prayer was being done at that time. And I remember stealing something out of Vision and Prayer. So his music was very beautiful, I thought, but I didn't understand really how he made it. Years later, I was listening to the Sixth Quartet with a student of mine, and he perhaps put words that were very, very appropriate to it. He said, "Oh, it's like acupuncture." All of a sudden, it seemed to be the right move for the piece. It's a marvelous piece. Later on, I got involved with the Solo Requiem. I knew Godfrey Wyndham, for whom the piece was written, or in memoriam of Godfrey Wyndham, and it's a magnificent piece and a very touching piece. You have to see the text and know Godfrey Godfrey Wyndham, excuse me, to know how closely the text is reflective of Godfrey. And of course, Bethany sang it, Bethany Beardsley, who was singing it at that time. And it's a very difficult piece, a long piece, 24 or 5 minutes. And Bethany, would ask questions of Milton and so forth when she was rehearsing it. He said, "Oh, Bethany, croon it." That was his kind of attitude. And when we did it up here, I conducted it, although it's really not supposed to be conducted. We did it with a student group. And he was up and he was very, very supportive. Not a word that, of saying, "Oh no, that could be better," or something. No, just solid support. And of course, Milton supported many things. He supported BMI. He was, there all the time in the BMI selections for the prizes and so forth. He was, as everybody knows, he was at every concert that you ever went to in New York. He was there, and he was a devoted husband to Sylvia when she died, or was a long time in the hospital in Princeton for 2 years or so. He was there every night that he could be at her side. And lastly, I'd like to thank Rodney for being one of the people who still promulgate Milton's music and do it on a regular